Lauren Mitchell, 32 years old. The text message notification blinked on my phone screen as I sat in the office, sorting through emails and trying to ignore the pressing anxiety building up in my chest. Baby, we're having a baby. I'm pregnant. I stared at the message for a long moment. My stomach churned, but my mind couldn't quite make sense of it. I shook my head as if that would help the words make more sense. It didn't. It wasn't possible. 3 years ago, my life was turned upside down in a flash. The accident had been brutal. A drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned me. I spent weeks in the hospital, undergoing surgeries. It was supposed to be a simple recovery, but what I didn't expect was the permanent consequence that would follow. The doctors told me I was sterile, no children. It wasn't just a possibility, it was a reality I had come to accept. I went through the emotional process: grief, frustration, acceptance. I learned to love Ethan, knowing that we couldn't have a child together. We had talked about adoption. We had even agreed that it would be okay, that we could still have a family. But now, this? I quickly typed a reply, my fingers shaking. Who's we? The 3 dots on the screen blinked for a long while before disappearing, and then they reappeared. What? Came the reply. You and me, he wrote. We're going to be parents. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. I pressed my lips together. Biologically impossible. What are you talking about? He answered immediately, but I took the test. It's positive. I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. Ethan, it's not mine. You know I can't have children. We talked about this. The phone vibrated as he called. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I felt my world narrowing, closing in on itself. I thought about the past months, the late nights when he'd been distant, the subtle deflections when I asked about his ex, Clara. Her name had come up several times, always with the excuse that they were just friends. But this was too far. I felt a lump in my throat as I reached for my phone. I couldn't let this lie stand. I couldn't let Ethan walk away from this. I snapped a screenshot of the message and sent it to Clara's coworker, the one Ethan always defended as just a friend. Congrats on the baby. She's due in what? 7, 8 months? You should probably know since you're the father. The message sent, and I couldn't stop myself from shaking. I stared at the screen. What had I just done? I was done pretending. If that first message sounds strange coming from a man, let me clarify what happened next. The text wasn't just Ethan's voice. It was Clara's. He'd copied her words and sent them to me like some twisted announcement card. Baby, we're having a baby. I'm pregnant. As if I wasn't a real person with a real medical file full of very real words, like irreversible and zero fertility. My phone started ringing before I could decide what to feel. Ethan. I let it buzz in my hand until it cut off. It started again immediately. On the 3rd call, I answered. What is wrong with you? He snapped before I could say hello. I tell you we're having a baby, and your reaction is to what? Send some cryptic text to people? My reaction, I said slowly, is to remind you that I am medically incapable of getting pregnant. So explain to me how we are having a baby, Ethan. There was a heartbeat of silence on the line. We just found out, he said. I was excited. I thought you'd be happy. Who is we? I asked. Use real names. I heard him exhale, the kind of frustrated sigh he used when Wi-Fi went out during a game. Me and Clara, he said finally, but it's not what you think. My stomach dropped so fast I grabbed the edge of my desk. Your ex, I said. Your ex is pregnant. He rushed in too quickly. It was a mistake. We were talking. Things got complicated. It just happened. But listen, this is our chance. You said you always wanted a family after the accident. This could be a miracle for us, Lore. I can be the father. You can be... He stopped himself before he said it. What? I asked. The childless woman in the background? The built-in babysitter for your oops baby with your ex-girlfriend? It doesn't have to be like that, he said. We can raise it together. Clara agrees. She knows you can't, she said she'd be open to you being involved, like a co-mom. Something icy slid into my chest. My fertility had never been a secret between us. Neither had the grief that came with it. I'd shared the darkest, rawest nights of my life with him. IV scars, hormone tests, the day the 3rd specialist looked at me with soft eyes and said, I'm sorry. Now he was bartering that pain like a bargaining chip. Let me get this straight, I said. You slept with your ex. She's pregnant. And instead of falling on your sword and dealing with your own mess, you thought you'd, what, package it as a miracle family and hand it to the woman who can't have children? You're being dramatic, he said sharply. This is a solution. You want a family. I want a family. Clara doesn't want to do this alone. Everyone wins. Everyone except the part where you cheated, I said. Except the part where you lied for months. Except the part where you're asking me to build my entire life on the foundation of your affair. It wasn't an affair, he shot back. We were just talking at first. And we weren't even in a good place, you and me. You've been so distant since the accident stuff flared up again. I didn't even know if you still wanted kids. There it was. The blame. Quiet at first, then louder. I've been distant because I've been grieving something I lost forever, I said. You knew that. You told me to take my time. And while I was trying to make peace with my broken body, you went and started one with someone else. That's not fair, he said. I made a mistake. I'm trying to fix it. I thought you of all people would understand. You love kids. You'd be amazing. Do not, I cut in, voice shaking, use my love for children as leverage to keep me here. Silence crackled between us. You're being cold, he said at last. You're turning your back on a baby. On me. I'm turning my back on a lie, I replied. Big difference. I hung up. For a few seconds, I just sat there at my desk, the hum of the office fluorescent lights buzzing above me, the glow of spreadsheets on my monitor swimming in and out of focus. 3 years ago, a drunk driver had taken away my ability to carry life. Now my boyfriend was trying to sell me his ex's pregnancy as a miracle. Neat little circle, isn't it? My brain whispered. Life saw your weakest point and aimed the knife right there. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Ethan. It was a new number. Hi, this is Mark. I work with Clara and Ethan. Can we talk? I stared at the name. Mark. The just a friend Ethan always mentioned. The one he insisted was like a brother to him. The one whose name had popped up next to Clara's in conversations more than once. I called instead of texting. He answered on the first ring. Lauren, he said. He sounded rattled. You sent me something. Yeah, I said. The screenshot of Ethan's message. Clara's pregnant, right? A pause. She told you? He asked. She told Ethan, I said, and Ethan told me. Then tried to pitch it as a group project. His exhale gusted against the receiver. I thought you knew, he said. She said you were all on the same page, that you couldn't have kids, so you were, I don't know, doing some kind of alternative family thing. I laughed. It came out sharp and humorless. Alternative family, I repeated. Is that what they're calling infidelity now? She said you and Ethan were basically over, Mark continued hurriedly, that you were just roommates, waiting for the right time to officially break up, that he wanted kids and you didn't. I swear, if I'd known— Stop, I said. You and I both know you didn't ask many questions, but that's your mess to sort out. I'm calling because there's something you need to understand. What? I am medically sterile, I said. 3 different specialists, multiple tests. No eggs, no options. Whatever baby Clara is carrying, it isn't a miracle baby conceived between me and Ethan under the light of a full moon. It's the result of her sleeping with someone fertile. And as far as biology goes, last time I checked, that's not me. He went very quiet. She said Ethan was the father, he whispered. She also said Ethan and I were basically roommates, I pointed out. You willing to bet 18 years of child support on her definition of truth? I could almost hear his brain doing math on the other end of the line. He faltered. We used protection, mostly. She said she was on birth control. Of course she did, I murmured. Look, Mark, I'm not calling to save you. I'm just telling you to get a paternity test. Don't take anyone's word for anything. Not hers, not Ethan's, not mine. Get paperwork. My God, he said softly. He told me you were cold, that you wouldn't support him through this, that you were jealous of Clara because she could give him what you couldn't. The words hit harder than I expected. There it was again. My grief turned into a weapon. Good to know what's being said about me, I said tightly. Thanks for sharing. That's not what I'm sorry, Mark stammered. If she's been lying about this, what else has she lied about? Exactly, I said. Welcome to the part of the story I'm currently living. We hung up with a promise, his, not mine, to look into it. I put my phone face down on my desk and stared at my reflection in the black screen of my monitor. I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Her eyes looked older than 32, tired, not just from the day, from years. Years of trying to build a life around a crater. By the time my shift ended, I'd made a decision. I drove home, walked into the apartment Ethan and I shared, and pulled 3 suitcases from the back of the closet. The zipper teeth sounded too loud in the quiet space. I took what was mine. Clothes, laptop, my grandmother's jewelry box. The shoebox where I kept all my medical records. Every lab report, every specialist summary, every brutal sentence that had rewritten my future. I left the framed photos on the walls, the couch we'd argued over at IKEA, the half-built crib in the second bedroom that Ethan had ordered just to have faith. I set my key on the kitchen counter. Then I grabbed a sticky note, the same kind we used to leave each other dumb little love messages on. I wrote 5 words. Miracles don't require betrayal, Ethan. Stuck it to the fridge. Walked out. I drove to my best friend's house across town. Emma opened the door before I knocked twice, taking one look at my face and stepping aside without a word. Her husband carried my suitcases to the spare room. She put a mug of tea in my hands, the way she always had during college breakups. I told them everything. The accident, the sterility, the text, the "we're having a baby," Clara, the phone call, Mark, the pitch for a ready-made family built on the wreckage of my own biology. Emma's face darkened with every sentence. "She really tried to sell you her pregnancy as some kind of gift," she said, disgust heavy in her voice. "After what you've been through?" "She's not the only one," I said. "Ethan did it too." Emma set her mug down carefully. "You know this isn't just cheating," she said. "This is calculated. This is them seeing your greatest wound and trying to use it to keep you." My fingers tightened around the mug. "I know," I said quietly. "That's what scares me." My phone lit up again on the table between us. 23 new messages from Ethan. Missed calls from an unknown number. Emma raised an eyebrow. "You want to deal with that?" I reached for the phone. Open the newest text. "You can't just leave. This is our baby whether you believe it or not. Come home, we need to talk. Clara is terrified. I'm terrified. You're abandoning your family." My family. I took a slow breath. Then I did the first thing that wasn't about him, or Clara, or biology, or miracles. I blocked his number. The next morning, Emma found me at the kitchen table, awake far too early, staring into a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. She didn't sit yet. She studied me the way people do when they're trying to determine whether the person in front of them might shatter if touched. "You didn't sleep," she said softly. "Didn't try," I answered. She poured herself coffee, sat down, and nudged my mug closer. "He texted again last night." "From a different number," I said. "I blocked that one too." Emma hesitated. "Do you want me to read any of it? Filter for anything important?" I pushed my phone toward her. "Be my firewall." Her thumb scrolled, face tightening in slow increments. "He's love-bombing you, then guilt-tripping, then threatening custody of a child that isn't even yours, then circling back to, we're meant to build a life together. Honestly, Lauren, this is textbook manipulation." "I know," I murmured. "I just didn't think he was capable of this." That was the part that hurt the most. Not the lies, not even the cheating. It was the fact that I believed him when he said he loved me. Emma reached out. "You need breakfast and a lawyer." "In that order?" I asked bleakly. She nodded. "Lawyers don't work well on empty stomachs." By noon, I was sitting in the office of a family attorney, recommended by one of Emma's coworkers. A gray-suited woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. I explained everything. The accident, the sterility, the text, Clara, the sudden reinvention of me as the future co-mom of Ethan's miracle, the calls, the emotional blackmail, the social media insinuations. She listened without interrupting, taking neat notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set her pen down. "Lauren, what Ethan is doing is not only manipulative, it borders on coercive family formation. He cannot force or guilt you into participating in raising a child that is not biologically yours or legally tied to you." "So I'm legally in the clear?" I asked. "Crystal clear," she assured, "especially with medical proof backing you up. But I would advise documenting everything. Keep copies, screenshots, dates, times, patterns of contact. He's escalating. People in his emotional state often do." My stomach tightened. Escalating how? She laced her fingers together. "He lost control of the narrative. People like him often try to regain it." I thought about the 23 messages, the frantic calls, the sudden pivot from begging to accusing. "Yeah, I knew that pattern." "Thank you," I told her. She nodded. "If he shows up in person, call the police and let me know. We'll file a restraining order if necessary." I walked out of her office feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. When I got back to Emma's house, my phone lit up again. But it wasn't Ethan this time. It was Mark. "Mark, can we talk? It's important." "Me. What's going on?" "Mark, I think she lied to me too. Badly." "Mark, can you talk in person? 5 minutes, please." Emma glanced at the messages. "You want backup?" she asked. "No," I said. "This one I need to hear myself." She watched me go like a mother sending a child into battle. Mark was waiting in the parking lot of a coffee shop, looking like someone who had slept in his car, pale, shaken. His shirt wrinkled, hair messy, eyes red. When he saw me, he swallowed hard. "Thanks for coming," he said. I crossed my arms. "You said you needed to talk." He nodded, scraping a hand through his hair. "I confronted her," he said, "about the timelines, about you, about Ethan, about the baby. She flipped out, said I was crazy for doubting her. Then she started crying and said I'd betrayed her worse than Ethan ever did." I raised an eyebrow. "Worse than Ethan? Interesting ranking system." "She said," he continued, voice cracking a little, "that she didn't know if I was the father or if Ethan was, but that we should both step up and prove our love by supporting her through the pregnancy." A cold, disgusted realization swept over me. "She's hedging her bets," I whispered. "She told me," he said miserably, "that she and Ethan weren't together. She told you that it was a miracle for your relationship. She told him, God knows what she told him." He sank down onto a bench. "I asked her for a paternity test," he said. "She screamed at me, said I was calling her a liar, said I was abandoning her in her moment of need." "That sounds familiar," I murmured. Mark let out a humorless laugh. "And then she said something that, I don't know, it chilled me." I glanced at him. "What?" She said, "It doesn't matter which of you is the father. Families are flexible if the woman knows what she's doing." A slow, nauseous wave rolled through me. Flexible families. That was the same line Ethan had used. That was no coincidence. Mark looked up at me, eyes hollow. "Lauren, she was trying to trap one of us. Maybe both of us." "She already tried it with Ethan," I said quietly. "He just tried to drag me into it." Mark buried his face in his hands. "I feel sick." "You should," I said honestly. "She lied to both of you. She used your insecurities and Ethan's weaknesses to manipulate every angle." "And the baby?" he whispered. "What if it's mine?" "Then you step up," I said gently. "But based on everything she's said, everything she's done, you verify before you commit your entire life." He nodded, defeated. "Lauren?" "Yes?" "I'm sorry," he said, "for all of it, for believing her, for letting her drag your name into this, for everything." "Don't apologize to me," I said. "Just don't let her lie her way into your entire future." He nodded again. Then he said something that caught me off guard. "She told me you would try to turn me against her," he said. "That you're bitter and jealous because you can't have kids, that you'd say anything to sabotage her happiness." For a moment I couldn't speak, not because it hurt, but because it was so precise. She knew exactly where my deepest wound was and stabbed right into it. "I'm sorry she weaponized that," Mark added quickly. "That was cruel." A long breath left my body. "Cruel," I said. "Yes, that's one word for it." Mark stood, shoulders slumped. "I'll let you know what happens with the test." I nodded and walked away, each step feeling heavier. Back at Emma's, she was pacing the living room. "Well?" she asked. "She's worse than we thought," I said. "And Ethan is worse than I thought." Emma exhaled. "Lar, you're in the middle of a storm they created, not one you invited." I sat down hard. "They targeted my infertility," I whispered. "Both of them. They used it like leverage." Emma knelt beside me. "Because you're kind. Because you're loyal. Because you would have given your whole heart to any child you thought was yours. They saw that, and they exploited it." My eyes burned. Not with tears. With clarity. "They don't get to spin this," I said quietly. "They don't get to make me the villain in their drama." Emma squeezed my hand. "So what now?" I lifted my gaze. "Now," I said, "we make sure the truth comes out." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Clara's sister. "We need to talk. You're making everything worse. Call me, now." I stared at the message, then looked at Emma. She raised both brows. "You ready for this?" I straightened my shoulders. "Oh," I said, "I'm very ready." I sat in the quiet of Emma's living room, my phone buzzing again, as if Clara's sister had somehow become my personal notification service for the chaos in the other camp. I stared at the message from Clara's sister for a moment longer than I probably should have, but this time, I wasn't feeling the sinking dread that had gripped me before. This time, I was oddly calm. There was no more room in my heart for guilt, no space left for Ethan's manipulations or for Clara's cold calculations. I typed a quick response. "Lauren, we're done talking. I'm done with all of you." I hit send and set my phone down, the weight of it suddenly feeling lighter in my hand. Emma was in the kitchen, fussing with her coffee machine. When she turned to look at me, I knew she could sense the shift. "Are you sure you want to handle it this way?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. I nodded. "Yes, They wanted to force me into a role that wasn't mine, a lie I wasn't going to live. I'm done pretending for their sake. She sat next to me, her expression serious. But you know they'll keep pushing. It's what they do when they know they're losing control. I looked at the phone again, feeling the impending storm of Ethan's next move. Let them. I've got the truth on my side. Just as I finished speaking, my phone rang. I didn't need to look at the screen to know who it was. Ethan. I took a steadying breath, and Emma gave me a small nod of encouragement. I answered, my voice icy calm. What do you want? I asked, the words coming out more cutting than I intended. His voice on the other end sounded strained, tired, and a little desperate. Lauren, I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to make this right. We can still... No, I interrupted. We can't fix this, Ethan. There's no fixing what's broken. There was a long pause. What do you mean? You're throwing everything away. I'm not throwing anything away. You are, I said, my voice gaining strength with each word. You lied to me. You used me. You manipulated me into accepting a child that isn't mine. You tried to convince me that your betrayal was something I should accept because it somehow fit into your version of what we were supposed to be. Ethan let out a bitter laugh, though I could tell it was one of pain. You're right. I did all of that. I'm sorry, but you don't understand. I was scared. Claire's terrified. We're both... Stop, I said, cutting him off again. Don't tell me about her fear. You know who's been terrified through all of this? Me. Not because I couldn't have kids, not because I was left behind in your fantasy family, but because I believed in you. I trusted you. I didn't want to hurt you, he said, but it was hollow, weak. I thought I could make it work. I thought I could protect us. You didn't protect us, I shot back. You protected yourself. You protected your ego. And in the process, you lied, you betrayed, and you hurt everyone who ever cared about you. His voice cracked on the other end. What do you want me to do? I'm not going to walk away from this. I'm not going to let this be the end. Then you'll have to do it alone, I said firmly, because I'm done. I'm walking away from all of this. From you, from your lies, and from your miracle family. The line went silent, and I could almost feel him grasping for words, trying to hold on to something. But I had nothing left to give. I hung up. I stared at the screen for a moment, and then, without hesitation, I blocked his number. The finality of it hit me harder than I expected, but there was something freeing about it too. Emma was quiet for a long moment, and then she said softly, "You've done the right thing." I didn't respond right away, unsure if the weight of it had truly sunk in, but as the minutes passed, I could feel the shift within me. The guilt, the doubt, all of it was fading into the background. I was finally standing on my own. Then the phone buzzed again. This time it was a new message from Mark. Mark, she's still trying to get me to step up. I've told her no, but I need you to know I'm taking a paternity test. And no matter what happens, I'm not going back to her. I'm not raising a child built on lies. I read the message slowly, letting the words sink in. Then I typed my reply. Lauren, do what's best for you. Get that test. I'll be here if you need support. But trust me, you don't need her anymore. I hit send, and then I sat back in my chair, closing my eyes for just a second. The truth was out. The paternity test. The lies. The manipulation. I wasn't going to be her scapegoat anymore. I wasn't going to be anyone's backup plan. The phone buzzed once more. This time it wasn't from Ethan or Mark. It was a notification from a social media account. Claire's coworker has posted a public apology, admitting to the affair and calling for transparency in the paternity investigation. The notification left me with a bitter taste in my mouth, but I couldn't help but smile. The narrative was finally shifting. The truth was spreading. I leaned back in my chair, staring out the window. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow across the city. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had control over my own future. I was free. And in that moment, I knew, no matter what the next chapter held, I was going to be okay. I had my dignity, my clarity, my strength. And most importantly, I had the truth.